Hello and welcome back to the Dixie Belle YouTube channel. This is Connie from Faff Designs and today I'm going to be making over this Art Deco style sideboard. So as you can see, this Art Deco style sideboard has some beautiful detail on the front, which I want to kind of keep the wood grain feature and use some paint as well. So it's going to be a stain and paint combination piece. The first thing I need to do is tackle that felt in the drawer. The drawers were lined like this because they were traditionally used for storing silverware and cutlery, but that felt is not in good condition, so that's going to have to come out. So I soak mine in a sink with hot water and a little bit of dish soap, and it usually works an absolute charm just to work that kind of glue loose, and then it normally just pulls out in one sheet without any mess. There was a little bit of residue of glue left, but I'm just going to set that drawer aside, let it dry completely, and then I can just sand any residue away once it's completely dry. I cleaned the rest of the sideboard using Dixie Belle's White Lightning cleaner. That's just going to get rid of any grime on the surface because it was a little bit dusty. And then I'm going to strip certain parts of this sideboard. So anywhere that I want to expose the natural wood grain and retain the kind of look of the wood, I'm going to use chemical stripper because it's got quite a lot of detail, and for me to sand all of that detail wouldn't be the most pleasant experience. It'd probably take me a lot longer as well. So I'm going to use chemical stripper. I'm applying this really thickly using a chip brush, and I'm just going to cover it with plastic wrap. Do read the instructions when you're using chemical stripper because they do vary from brand to brand. Once the stripper had been on there for a while, I took the plastic wrap off, and then I'm going to remove the rest of the gunk using a rag. Now, as you can see, there is still some of that sticky kind of gunk that you get left over when you have used chemical stripper. However, I've got a top tip for you, and I can't believe that I've only just found out this works because I usually avoid chemical stripping. I'm not a big fan of it. It's quite messy and the cleanup is awkward, especially if you've got detail like this. Cleaning that gunk up is not enjoyable, and you usually have to use something like white spirits, which sometimes it's unavoidable that you use it, but where I can, I'd rather use something that's a little bit less stinky. So, Scrubby Soap. This is a product that Dixie Belle sell, and I use this every single day to clean my brushes and hands after my work because I paint every single day. I'm a messy painter, I use a lot of brushes, and this prolongs the life of my brushes because it really looks after the bristles and removes all of the paint buildup that's in there. However, this also works to remove the buildup of chemical stripper. That residue that's left over, that's sticky and gunky, it works an absolute charm because it has a scrubby built into the soap bar. You can get in all the detail, but it's not going to be sort of abrasive enough to damage any of the wood. I always clean up after using Dixie Belle's White Lightning just to remove any soap residue that might be left on the surface. But the Scrubby Soap just removes and eats into that sticky residue, an absolute charm. I can't believe I've only just found this out. It works so well. I've recommended it to other people who have tried it, and they said exactly the same. It works amazing. Once everything was cleaned with Dixie Belle's White Lightning, I rinsed it using clean warm water, and then I went back to the rest of the sideboard. I scuff sanded the main body of the piece. I also sanded the little feet down to bare wood because I'm going to wood stain those as well to match the front of the drawers. I didn't need to use chemical stripper on this part because they're quite flat, so my sander did the job of removing that varnish on the feet or the legs. And then for the rest of the piece that I'm not going to use wood stain on, I'm using Dixie Belle's Bond Emboss primer. I'm using it in grey just because this is my go-to colour. It works pretty well underneath every single colour that you use, whether you're using a bright, a neutral, a dark. Grey is pretty much a very universal shade for primer. So I just applied 2 coats of this all over and then left it to dry for 24 hours. This is an adhesion primer and a stain blocking primer in one, so it's really the only primer that you need. For the drawer fronts, if my camera wants to focus, I'm going to use a brand new water-based wood stain just to stop those orangey kind of tones coming back through. This colour is called Bleached Cypress, and it's part of Dixie Belle's new release for their Voodoo Gel Stain Wood Stain, not to be confused with their No Pain Gel Stain. No Pain Gel Stain is an oil-based wood stain. Voodoo Gel Stain is a water-based wood stain. So I'm using that to just lighten the wood a touch and stop those warm tones coming back through. And then for the rest of the piece, I'm going to use Dixie Belle's all-in-one silk mineral paint in the shade Serenity. This is a gorgeous, soft blue. It's super pretty, and I just think it's going to lighten the whole thing up and stop this piece looking so imposing. This paint has got a built-in stain blocking primer. Yes, I have used Bond Emboss, but it is compatible with Bond Emboss as well. But it has got a built-in stain blocking primer. It's also got a built-in top coat. So all I did is paint 2 coats of this, left it to dry, and I don't need to do any more to this piece. It's very, very durable and gives a really beautiful soft sheen once it's dry. Now, back to the drawer fronts, they were looking a little bit flat because obviously I'd stripped all the varnish off and then wood stained them. So they were all kind of one colour, and I really wanted to bring the dimension and detail out in the drawers. So I'm going to use Best Dang Waxing Clear as a base. I'm just going to apply this with a La Petite brush because it's got a tapered end, and it's going to allow me to get in all the detail of the drawer fronts. Once I'd applied a thin even coat of clear wax on, I'm then going to go in with brown wax. So again, the same thing, I'm going to apply this with a tapered brush. This is a French tip brush. I'm going to swirl it in so that the brown wax is sitting in all the recesses. And the clear wax is going to act as a barrier so that in a second, when I wipe back the high areas, the dark wax is going to stay in all the detail, and it's going to be removed off all the kind of high points, which is going to leave me with a little bit of dimension, and it's just going to bring that detail to life instead of it looking so flat. So I work it all in into all the detail, like I said. Then I get a lint-free rag and just remove the excess from all the kind of high points of the drawer. And you can see the difference here between the drawer that I did and the drawer that I haven't yet done. So the top one is just wood stain, the bottom one had the wax on it, and you can see the difference it makes to that detail. Here's the finished piece with a few close-ups of all the drawer detail and the wood stain. I did have to paint the drawer interior where the felt was because it just wasn't the same as all the other interior. But as you can see, that wood stain has really mellowed out that kind of orangey warm tone to the wood, and it contrasts really beautifully against the Serenity colour. So here's the finished look, a little reminder of the products that I use that you can buy from dixiebellepaint.com, a reminder of how the piece looked when I started and how it finished up. Let me know what you think of the makeover in the comments. Make sure to hit the subscribe button, and I will catch you next time.